Welcome to this lesson to help you learn English with the news. We're going to read a news article together, and you're going to learn a lot of advanced vocabulary, complex sentence structure, advanced grammar, and even correct pronunciation directly by reading this article with me. Welcome back to JForce English Training. Of course, I'm Jennifer, and this is your place to become a fluent, confident English speaker. Let's get started. Welcome to our article. We're talking about the China spy balloon. I'm sure you've heard all about this. So first, I'm going to read the article in full, and you can practice along with my pronunciation. So let's do that now. Total miscalculation. China goes into crisis management mode on balloon fallout. China maintains the vessel, which was shot down by the U.S. over the Atlantic Ocean on Saturday, was a weather balloon thrown off course. And it has shown signs of both being caught off guard by the incident and wanting to stem the potential damage, analysts say, not only framing the situation as the result of factors beyond its control, but also offering a rare expression of regret over it in a statement Friday. Beijing has given sparse details on the origins of the balloon, which it first confirmed was from China in an explanation issued more than 12 hours after the Pentagon announced it was tracking the object. Chinese state media on Saturday also announced the head of the country's weather service was relieved of his duty in a move seen by some analysts as an attempt to shore up Beijing's position. The high-altitude balloon was of civilian nature, mainly for meteorological purposes. The official, however, had already been expected to depart after being appointed to a new post in January. This balloon incident now sets us back significantly because the calendar of U.S.-China relations just over the next several months does not allow a whole lot of space for the two sides to reset, said Jude Blanchett, adding the meeting had been a chance for setting some boundaries for the relationship. China will hold its annual legislative sessions next month when a reshuffle of leadership in the central government will be formalized. In the U.S., House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is reportedly planning to visit Taiwan, a move that will inevitably spark the ire of Beijing. Now let's review the article in more detail, and I'll explain some of the advanced vocabulary and complex sentence structure and grammar. Now you can consider this part 2 because I released a lesson where we reviewed another article about the China spy balloon, but that article was before they shot it down. So if you want some more information on the topic, I'll leave the link to the other lesson in the description below. So let's start with our title, Total Miscalculation. China goes into crisis management mode on balloon fallout. Okay, miscalculation, if you're not sure, we have the word calculate, a calculation, that's your formula, right? Your equation. Now by adding miss, this means wrong. So total wrong calculation. They calculated it wrong. So wrong calculation. You'll see this word a lot in the media, especially with economic-based articles. On balloon fallout, what does fallout mean? Well, you can imagine by the context that there is some tension over this issue. So fallout is negative. And you can think of it as the unpleasant results or effects of an action or event. Obviously, in this case, the event is the China spy balloon, and the unpleasant result is the tension it caused between the two countries. So that's the fallout. Let's continue on. China maintains the vessel. This is the vessel, the China spy balloon, the vessel which was shot down by the U.S. over the Atlantic Ocean on Saturday was a weather balloon thrown off course. So when we use China maintains, it means previously they said it is a weather balloon. And when you say China maintains, it means they are still saying it's a weather balloon. So it's when you keep your opinion to what it originally was. So here's the definition for you, and I'll give you an example sentence. Let's say you were accused of stealing something from your company, and you tell everyone, I didn't do it. I didn't steal anything. And people keep asking you, but every time you say, I didn't do it. And your name is Joe. Joe maintains that he didn't steal from the company. So you state your opinion and then you keep stating that same opinion. So it's a strong way to express a certain belief. Let's continue on. And it has shown signs of both being caught off guard by the incident and wanting to stem the potential damage. Okay. Let's stop here. So the it in this case is China, the country of China, it, or the Chinese government, and it has shown signs of both being caught off guard. So to be caught off guard is when something happens and you weren't expecting that to happen. Let me write that for you. To not expect something to happen. So China is saying that they didn't expect the balloon, the weather balloon, to travel to the US. They were caught off guard. What? How did that happen? Now, you can use this in many different contexts. To be caught off guard. That is the idiom. So let's say your friends planned you a party and you walk in and, oh, wow, I'm caught off guard. I didn't know you were planning this party for me. They surprised you. You didn't expect it to happen. Here's the example sentence. I was caught off guard. Wow, I didn't expect that. I was caught off guard by the surprise party. And this is an idiom. Let me just write out the full idiom. To be caught off guard. Now, our verb to be needs to be conjugated. So here you have it in the past simple, and here we have it in the continuous form. So it's shown signs of being caught off guard by the incident. They didn't expect it. And wanting to stem the potential damage. This is a verb, to stem. And this means to stop something unwanted from spreading or increasing. So here in this context, China wants to stem the damage. They want to prevent the damage or stop the damage from spreading. And in this case, the damage is the negative result, the fallout it's had on the relationship between China and the US, right? They want to stem that damage, stop it from spreading even more. Analysts say, not only framing the situation as the result of factors beyond its control. So if something is beyond your control, it means that you have no control over it. It's just a very common way of saying to have no control. So to be beyond one's control, this simply means to have no control over this situation. So you might say, her actions are beyond my control. So let's say you're a parent and your daughter is behaving in a way that you disagree with, but you don't have any control over the way your daughter behaves. So you could say her actions are beyond my control, beyond my control, to be beyond one's control. So it's a very common expression. So the factors are beyond its control. I believe China said that it was a weather balloon and they didn't expect the wind to take it so far away. And of course, China does not control the wind. So the wind is beyond China's control, right? But also offering a rare expression of regret over it in a statement Friday. Let's continue on. Beijing has given sparse details. Sparse is an adjective. It describes the details, and it means not many, or very little, few, depending on the sentence structure, the grammar. Very few details, not many details. As an example, I could say, the food at my surprise party, which I was caught off guard by, the food at my surprise party was sparse, which means there was not a lot of food. There was very little food. So you can use this as a negative. This might be a negative. Oh, the food was sparse. But it could be a positive if something unwanted is sparse. For example, negative comments were sparse. That's a good thing because there weren't many negative comments. So it just depends on the context if it's positive or negative. Beijing has given sparse details, so not a lot of details, on the origins of the balloon, which it first confirmed was from China in an explanation issued more than 12 hours after the Pentagon announced it was tracking the object. So they're including this because they're trying to stress that it took China a long time to even acknowledge the weather balloon and take responsibility for it. Chinese state media on Saturday also announced the head of the country's weather service, because remember, they claimed it was a weather balloon. So the head is the boss, the person in control at the very top, the head of the country's weather service. So in a business context, the head of the company is the CEO. Generally, that's the job title, the CEO. It could be a different job title. And then you could list a specific person. The head of the company is Mary Smith. So she is the boss. She is the CEO or whatever that job title is, the head of the company. So the head of the weather service was relieved of his duty. This is a very polite way of saying he was fired. It's just a very polite way of saying it. He was relieved of his duty. He was fired in a move seen by some analysts as an attempt to shore up Beijing's position. So let's just take a look at shore up. This means to support or to improve. Support or improve. Now, in this case, it most likely means support because remember, they're maintaining that it's a weather balloon. So they want evidence to support that, to shore it up. So if you're preparing for a presentation, you might want to include some data or information to shore up a certain recommendation or a certain proposal to support it or improve it. So to shore up Beijing's position, the high altitude balloon, the weather balloon or the spy balloon, was of civilian nature, mainly for meteorological purposes. Meteorological. Don't worry too much about the pronunciation of this. I'm sure you're, what? That's a hard word to say, but you probably won't ever use it in your daily vocabulary. Aside from saying it right now, I don't remember the last time I've ever said this word. So I would say don't worry about it too much. unless you work for a weather station. The official, however, had already been expected to depart. So here, the official, they're talking about that head of the country's weather service. They didn't say his name. And so he is the official, the one who was fired, relieved of his duty. The official, however, had already been expected to depart. Depart, of course, means go. So they're saying that although he was relieved of his duty, he was already going to go. So it isn't actually meaningful that China fired this guy because he was already leaving. He was already appointed to a new post in January. Okay, let's continue on. This balloon incident now sets us back significantly. Let's review this. This is a great phrasal verb to set one back. This means to delay. And it's used with to delay a person, to delay an event, or even to delay a process. So in this case, it sets us back. So us could be the China government, the Chinese government, the American government, or the relationship between the two. It's delayed that relationship, or it's delayed their communication with each other. We commonly use this as a noun. I'll just point that out and I'll give you an example sentence. We had to postpone the project because of a setback. So here, notice how I'm using a noun, a setback. This is just something that caused a delay. The setback could be your funding wasn't approved. You couldn't hire someone to complete the job. Someone quit who was going to do the work. There could be many reasons why the project was delayed. So you have to provide more information if somebody asks you about the setback. Now, using our phrasal verb, you could also say the funding issue set us back, which means delayed us. So both the noun form and the verb form are very commonly used. So it set us back significantly because the calendar of U.S.-China relations just over the next several months does not allow a whole lot of space for the two sides to reset. So reset, just start their communication again. So it delayed their relationship with each other. Said Jude Blanchette, adding the meeting had been a chance for setting some boundaries for the relationship. So the Chinese government and the American government, they were going to meet, but then there was the spy weather balloon issue, and the fallback set them back. That's the reason why they were set back, the fallback from the spy balloon. China will hold its annual legislative sessions next month when a reshuffle of leadership. So when you reshuffle, it means you move people around. So he might take this person and put him in a different job position, a different department. This is done in organizations, businesses, and within politics, governments as well. Reshuffle of leadership in the central government will be formalized. In the U.S., House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is reportedly planning to visit Taiwan, a move that will inevitably spark the ire of Beijing. Okay, let's start with this first. Ire. Notice the pronunciation like ire. This is another way of saying anger, the anger of Beijing. And spark is when something causes something to happen. So something causes something to happen. Something sparks something. So in this case, it's an official from the US government visiting Taiwan. That's the something, and is going to cause something else. That's the anger. That's the ire, the anger. That's the other something. And instead of causes, it's just spark. Will inevitably spark, cause the ire, the anger of Beijing. What else? Okay, I wanted to point out this adverb reportedly, because when you add this, all of a sudden it casts doubt. It makes it sound like it's not 100% certain when you said reportedly. So going back to my example before, I don't remember what name I used, but I'll say Joe reportedly stole from the company, but he maintains that he didn't do it. Okay? Reportedly is when you are not 100% certain. That's when you can use reportedly, not 100% certain. So there's some doubt. Maybe there's some evidence he did, but there isn't concrete proof, or there's some conflicting evidence. Joe reportedly stole from the company, but he maintains he didn't do it. And that is the end of our article. I hope you enjoyed all the advanced vocabulary and grammar that you learned from this article.
Amazing job with this lesson. Now, you can look in the description or look in the comment section below to find the link where you can download the free lesson PDF that summarizes everything we learned in this lesson. And if you found this lesson helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, j4english.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to help you speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying!